Potato is a native crop of the South American Andes, and it came to Europe around 1500 after the Spaniard had conquered parts of the Southern American continent. Now, when this crop was brought to Europe, it wasn't immediately consumed by humans. Only the Spaniards and the Irish started consuming it. The rest of Europe didn't consume it directly, at least. In most part of Europe, potato was used to feed pigs. And in fact, even using it to feed pigs was controversial in some parts of Europe. In France, for example, the government passed a law that banned farmers from using potato to feed pigs. And that's because potato was believed to be a crop that caused diseases, leprosy in particular. So between 1748 and 1772, the crop was completely banned in France. But one person changed all that, not only in France, but in the entire of Europe. His name was Augustin Parmentier. This guy was born in 1732, just a few years before potato was banned in France. He studied and became a pharmacist and agronomist. During a war between France and Prussia, Prussia was one of the states that later on merged to become Germany. Antoine was captured as a prisoner of war and he was taken to Prussia. Now, while in captivity in Prussia, he was fed potatoes. The Prussians, though they used not to consume potatoes, they fed the potatoes to pigs, and also they fed potatoes to prisoners. So Antoine ended up eating potatoes for a while, and during that time, he ended up liking potatoes. And when he was released and he came back to France in 1733, he made it his mission to make the French eat potatoes. He got an opportunity to push this agenda when he was appointed by Napoleon Bonaparte to be the chief army pharmacist. To achieve his goals, he employed several tricks, most of which did not work. Some of them included organizing these huge parties where he will invite very important guests and serve them potatoes or different types of foods that are made from potato. Some of the people he did invite include Benjamin Franklin. The primary reason that pushed him to try to make the French eat potatoes is because the country was facing a crisis in terms of food shortage. The French people ate a lot of wheat, and at some point there was not enough wheat to be consumed. And he thought that if the French started eating potatoes, that will at least remove the problem. It will increase the variety of foods, and potatoes were easily farmed and could easily be produced, and that will remove the pressure on wheat. But the trick that stands out that many people think worked was planting potatoes himself in his own farms and then hiring guards, very many guards, to stand in the farms and to protect the potatoes, even though nobody was really interested in the potatoes. So he would have these guards stand in his farms guarding the potatoes. And by doing this, he created the impression that potatoes was so valuable in the minds of the people who lived around. And he would have these guards stand there during the day, and at night the guards will leave or will pretend like they just were not efficient at protecting the potatoes, and the people in the villages around will come and steal the potatoes. And sometimes he would ask the guards to accept bribes from the people around, and they would accept bribes and the people would take the potatoes. And by creating the image that potatoes was so valuable that he was willing to spend a lot of money to protect them by so many guards, the people started valuing potatoes and they started consuming it. And with time, this cultural change happened not only in the areas where he was growing potatoes, but in the entire country. And because France at this time was a trendsetter in Europe, the rest of Europe slowly embraced potatoes. And of course, we know what happened after that. Potatoes went to the other parts of the world, came to Africa, and we consume potatoes today.